Mr. Jordan Peele. Just one movie he directed. One horror movie, and he became a horror icon. That fast. I'm not saying that to criticize him, because honestly, the Get Out film that he made was actually pretty good. It was enough to become one of my favorite movies of that year. My favorite horror movie, no, but I'm beginning to think that he is one of the few directors that do understand the process of creating a good horror film, despite the typical cliches and run-of-the-mill traps that horror movies do. And I'm just saying, with just one movie that he made, and now he's becoming the host of the new Twilight Zone reboot? Man, I mean, for me, I will say that, please guys, hold your horses. He only made one movie. Yeah, it's a great movie, but not exactly... But we have to see where he'll... how far he will go. And if he keeps a record long enough, that is a great achievement. Many people consider him the new Shyamalan. I'm gonna hold my opinion to that. But what I will talk about today is his latest film. His latest film is called Us. I'm not gonna lie, I was very interested once I saw the trailer, in which it feels like it has the same kind of elements that he's familiar with Get Out, but one of the most interesting elements that caught me in this movie is that it is a kind of genre that is kind of a little bit tricky to put into a horror icon. And that is none other than the doppelganger. For those who doesn't know, a doppelganger is a paranormal or mythical creature or a real life scene in which it let's say that it's like basically someone that looks exactly like you. For example, I might find someone that he looks exactly like me. It can be either paranormal or a real life person. We've seen this a lot of time in movies. Rarely they use it kind of like in some kind of paranormal activity or something like that. Well, okay, not rarely. I'm just kind of stating in the quite few years that I have seen. Unless you count Replica, but Replica is not exactly doppelganger, but it's more about cyborgs that look alike. Okay, but anyway, I just went to see Us. It was very crowded, I gotta admit. It was a very crowded theater. I was lucky to get a good seat. But I was so eager to watch the film. I finally saw it yesterday, I might add. And I gotta admit that I really like it. Right in the get-go, I will say that this is a really, really good film. Jordan Peele really shows that he understands the basic concept of horror movie, and he plays with it. Although I do have a little bit of a nitpick, but most of the nitpicks is mostly because I'm very familiar to horror movies and I've seen some of the stuff that I have seen in other movies. But I already said a lot of times that I don't care a cliche or a familiar territory in movies as long as it's executed well. And this movie has it. This movie has it. And right at the get-go, I'll start out with the beginning. What the movie is about. Basically, the movie is about this family. You know, a loving couple, a teenage daughter, and a small, let's say, weirdo kid, for lack of better words. They go to this beach in what was it? I think it was Santa Monica. They go to the beach. They meet some jerky friends, and everything is kind of fine and dandy except for one element, until apparently their house is invaded by most surprisingly of them all, lookalikes of them. let's say that they're doppelgangers, they're doubles, and they invade their house. They're dressed up like, imagine if they're trying to cosplay like the Orange is the New Black with the prisoner suits, but instead of orange, it's red. It's red, and they're carrying and as weapons, they're carrying this big scissors that kind of look like the scissors that you use for seaming. Well, basically, are there to take their place, to kill them, and that's the basic thing that you have to know about this movie, and the rest of it, I'm gonna try my best to don't go into too much spoilers, but I'll give it my best. But right from the get-go, I'll say that if you haven't watched this movie and you're interested in horror movies, this is a good check it out. It's really well done. So let's go with the elements that make us work. First of all, we got the acting. The acting, I'll say that is really stellar. The main character, the main heroine of this is the mother of the family, the matriarch of the family. She's played by Lupita Nyong, and she does an excellent job on this movie and conveying her emotions. Although there are some parts, I will admit that it kind of raised my eyebrows when it's about emotions, but I'll get to that later. The father, who is played by Winston Duke, he comes off like kind of like a loving father, a loving husband, also a little bit on the, how can I say it, kind of in the goofy side. It's almost like, I don't know if he's the same actor from Get Out, that one that plays the airport security guy, the friend of the main character. I don't know if it's him or if it is him or not. But I'm gonna admit that he just puts a little bit of a light-hearted tone into this in some areas. And honestly, we're talking about Jordan Peele, who has a background on directing, being a comedic actor. So when he directs on those horror movies, Get Out is the only one that comes into my mind before us. I gotta admit that he just comes up that he can't get away from the humoristic aspect, that he just wants to put some comedy into it. And the comedy is, well, it's not exactly bad. There's some parts that is funny, but I do admit that there are times in which I don't think that it could time off better the comedic tone. Like, for example, there was one part in which it is very serious, and he comes up and say, "Hey, what you pull, man?" He comes up with that, the typical comedic accent in parts in which we're supposed to take it seriously. Like, for example, there's this standoff between the family and the doppelgangers, and he just comes out like saying like, "Oh, you wanna take my wallet," or something like that, and it's sometimes a comedic actor, but I do actually love that. I think Lupita Nyong was kind of making her expression like, "Shut up! You're gonna make the mess." There's also the daughter who acts like the typical adolescent daughter in these kind of movies, and the kid who. I kind of grew fond of the kid. He's kind of like the kid who he's very smart. He even sometimes come up with curse words and know how to escape being punished because he just say a curse word. Well, he's kind of like this kind of kid, and he likes to wear a mask. He's also afraid of being locked up in a dark closet. And yeah, he's technically kind of the little weirdo. But you know what? I accept him more than they try to make like an autistic kid in The Darkness. That was a shitty movie, but just in case. But yeah, this is the rundown of our four main leads. And then we got the doppelgangers. The doppelgangers, usually how can I explain it? Normally, yeah, as you can see, they're look-alike with a few, like for example, slight differences. Like for example, the father has the doppelganger doesn't have exactly. It has a kind of like a different haircut and beard. The the mother had kind of like had more kind of like a uncut. I don't know, it's kind of like a badly cut hair. The daughter, I don't think there was much difference, and the kid's doppelganger, he's always wearing a kind of like a white mask, like makes him look like a creepy El Santo. But he takes his mask and you see that half of his face is kind of burned, kind of like a half Freddy Krueger. But another key difference up then is that aside from their murderous personality, all of them, apparently they can't talk. They have this creepy sound that makes them kind of look like a cross between a zombie or something otherworldly. It's kind of like kind of like they don't either they don't talk or they just make that wailing sound that is kind of creepy. Well, except the mother character, the mother doppelganger, she actually is kind of like this, having a semblance of an intelligence, but you can still see that she has some difficulty on talking normally. She's kind of like, we are here to kill you. Oh man, and honestly, every scene when they're doppelgangers they are is actually really creepy. I gotta admit, it's really creepy. And let me tell you that right in the dance, I'll tell you that this family of doppelgangers, they're not exactly the only doppelgangers in this film. One thing I gotta mention about this movie is that one of the key elements to make a horror movie effective is that we have to know the characters a little bit better in order to make us care. And the movie initially works that way because we start out kind of like we get a background of our main character, Lupita, the Lupita Nyong'o character, in which we see her that when she was a child in Santa Monica, she had an experience where she strayed from her parents, and get ready for that scene to hammering your hand off very nostalgic stuff like she has she wears a Michael Jackson Thriller T-shirt and all that. And well, she strays from her parents, and because the parent was so stupid enough to not look at her for 5 seconds, then she enters this fun house, and we get a first glimpse of the that there is something wrong, and it involves lookalikes, doppelgangers, and then we jump into the present, where we see her that she is very traumatized, that she doesn't want to go to the beach, and it takes a little bit of time and courage to tell her husband about her traumatic experience and all that. And of course that we know that with the movie that we got, this is gonna be one hell of a therapy that she's gonna have. Speaking of the flashback, speaking of that intro, here's another one. Here's a little bit of a nitpick that I have. It doesn't necessarily damage the movie, but I have a little bit of an issue in this beginning, in which, for a child character, I know that they wanted to make it stylistic of a horror movie, but that girl, even when she was in a fun fair and all this stuff, she lacked emotion. She was like, I want this. Thanks, Dad. She was, I don't know, it's almost like this, it's like, I don't know what happened to Jordan Peele at this moment. I think that he lacked direction and saying, hey girl, act like a good girl, crack a smile, crack an emotion, don't just stay stiff, just walking around with the thriller t-shirt, carrying this carrying, what was it, a candy apple, stiffly. She was like this. This is another one of those horror movie traps that, in order to build tension, you kind of have to make the character walk around slowly, but at least make them feel like there's some semblance of emotion, or that she's kind of scared. I mean, maybe she's kind of like scared stiffless, but I had a hard time to think this through. It's just, maybe it's just me. What else do I can tell about this movie without spoiling too much? Well, the soundtrack. It has a great soundtrack. We even have the title credit scenes, and it kind of makes you feel a little bit confused because we see us and the title with that really creepy ass music. It was like that, something like that. It's something like it just wanted to. It's a little bit step closer from the Omen, theme song. But during that pan shot, we see lots of cages full of rabbits. I'm not gonna tell you what the rabbits signify, because one thing that Jordan Peele kind of knows on making these kind of movies, and no exception with Get Out, is that he just tries to shoehorn in a little bit of a social commentary. Also, to be fair, I kind of fail on us, because in Get Out, the social commentary was a little bit in your face. I think the one in Oz, it feels like it is kind of there. I don't think that I think that I miss it sometimes, because the way it was structured, it does feel like it's just a run-of-the-mill horror movie, a well-done horror movie. Well, when you think about it, I heard that there was an interview with him talking about that it's about that the worst enemy is yourself or something like that. I think that it takes a little bit of a good talk to figure out that, yeah, maybe there is a social commentary about us being our worst enemies, and here and there. Although when we talk about ourselves being our worst enemies, I don't think that is kind of valid when you involve doppelgangers. Alright, let me try to wrap up a little bit. I'm not going to try to spoil you the ending, but there are some things that I do want to address. Because what I like about the movie is that it doesn't focus on the problem of just one family, but it also shows that the whole problem is technically universal. It really feels like this is actually one of those Twilight Zone episodes and one of the good ones, because later it is shown that, yeah, there are other doppelgangers apart from the family one, because we've seen some other doppelgangers killing off that white trash family, and then it's technically kind of like a universal thing that is happening. The least I could say that it technically has to do. It's technically a conspiracy that what is happening. Just a conspiracy, an underground conspiracy. I'm not gonna reveal exactly what kind of what it is, but it is creepy enough when you think about it. But a little bit of a nitpick that I have to say, but it's just me, is that once you put the pieces together, I kind of saw the ending, the ending twist. I kind of saw it coming, but I don't blame the movie for that, or I don't blame the audience for that. This one is on me, because I've seen so many horror movies, horror manga, horror comics, and horror stories, that when I see something familiar, I kind of begin to put the pieces together and say that, and even if it goes into the creative way, and my mind is like, wouldn't it be great if this will happen? And honestly, that's what happened. So I kind of predicted the twist ending. I'm not gonna say exactly what it is, but I'll say that for people who are new into horror movies and haven't seen twists like that, it's creepy, and I actually really like what happened. So in the end, does this movie better than Get Out? Well, that depends on how you see it, let's say. If you want to see kind of like a heavy social commentary in it, that Get Out is the good way. But for us, where the social commentary is a little bit more subtle, probably this is better. Personally, I think that I personally like Us better than Get Out, because Get Out kind of is one of those movies that you're gonna feel uncomfortable watching it. That doesn't. So anyway, that's my take on Us. Go check it out. And I think that wraps up with my review of Us. And I think that